Welcome to Talk TV with Tiffany's podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany. When I'm not watching TV, I'm talking about it. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with Samm Hodges and Michael Killen, the creative duo behind ABC's endearing new series, Downward Dog. Samm and Michael have brought their unique web series to network TV. They co-wrote the pilot, directed by Michael, which is available to watch online ahead of the show's sneak peek premiere on Wednesday, May 17 at 9:30 following the season finale of Modern Family. The show will then air in its regular time slot on Tuesday nights at 8, beginning on May 23rd. Be sure to set your DVRs. Oh, and if Samm sounds familiar, it's because he voices Martin, the titular star of the show. Without further ado, I present my fun and enlightening conversation with Samm and Michael. I hope you enjoy. So I was wondering, because I did see the web series too, and just from the first trailer I saw for Downward Dog, where did you even get the idea for this series? What inspired you? Like, did you have a dog and just looked at him and one day thought, I wonder what he's thinking,
Well, it came in stages, I have to say, and I'll talk about the first stage. The first stage was my long experience of working with animals on set, and being actually an animator of animals, and having done that for so many years, and it was it just was a desire to do something, whether it was just in short form or for an exercise for fun, something that really has and puts a dog in a position where you really believe deeply in the emotional state of them, and more specifically, it was a dog that was questioning, whether he mattered or not, and then Samm and I came together and put together one of the web shorts, and then it went from there. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh yeah, I was a director working with Michael, and I was always a writer. I wrote on some unscripted TV before that, but I had never thought I'd be writing for a talking dog.
Yeah.
I had a lot of judgment of the genre, you could say, and so when Michael first talked to me about kind of ideas about wanting to do something with a talking dog, we just had the discussion about wanting to go against a lot of the tropes, and it was really just for fun. We didn't plan on making this into a TV show. It was just something for fun, and went and wrote a monologue, and then Michael ended up using my voice kind of against my will.
Oh, really?
The dog. Yeah, I just recorded it as a temp track to kind of give it kind of feeling for the character, and then Michael put that in, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But from there we just, we made the web series, and it kind of slowly, over a period of a year at least, started to get more attention, and we started to feel like, maybe there's something here.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I was going to ask how you kind of came, how you found Martin's voice, because he's so introspective and philosophical, yet he has like this laid back, like chiller dude kind of way of saying everything, but like profound things are coming out of him. And Ned has like eyes that you feel like he's just looking right through into your soul, so it's like the combination of that. I was wondering, did you try different voices, or you just like laid it down and it worked, so you stuck with?
Well, a lot of his voice is just kind of, I guess what we think is funny about kind of millennial culture, about especially millennial men who are so emotionally sensitive and self-aware and use that kind of vocal fry, but then also are incredibly narcissistic and kind of use their sensitivity as a way to kind of talk about themselves all the time, which Martin does.
Yes.
And so a lot of it was just based on this very modern kind of version of being a man.
And from a technical aspect too, there was a history of working with voice actors that were not voice actors. When you place them into an animal, there was something about the unpolishedness. Now, Sam is a polished actor, so I'm not going to say that. But back then, he was he has a more of a regular voice that wasn't overacted. And if you look back to it was Creature Comforts by Aardman, and what was so wonderfully effective about that was those were interviews of people talking about what it was like to live in London, and then they put those in the mouths of claymated animals, and there's something just really compelling about non-actors and very conversational. And Samm found a very conversational voice with a flare that worked incredibly well with the dog.
Yeah, because there's such a relatability too. You know, he expresses such human emotions and human anxieties, and you know, if you have dogs, you get, you know, I feel like you don't understand until you have a dog how similar we are in many ways. You know.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's a lot of what we talked about, is that there's this huge overlap between dog experience and human experience, and kind of if you get into the nitty-gritty of the rules of the show, Martin's character is not what we think your dog is actually thinking. Instead, it's what if we projected human anxieties and human language onto a dog experience, you know? But there's so much overlap between a dog experience and our own that it allows for us to create a lot of like fun parallels. And a lot of Martin's struggles are really just directly pulled from my life or Michael's life or Ken and John's or the writers, and just putting our own kind of trauma and our own insecurity into this dog's voice makes it somehow funny and also, like you say, relatable.
Yeah, because I really loved how Martin's episodic dilemmas are mirrored in Nan's life, and it's like, it seems like each episode's theme is inspired by Martin's emotional crisis, but you know, as you go through Nan's day, you realize that it's really reflecting her perspective and what she's going through, and they have such a huge effect on each other's lives. So I was wondering what prompts each episode's theme. Do you then just take it from, like, as you're writing, what's, you know, mostly what you're feeling at the time, since it's kind of coming from your experiences and anxieties and stuff as the writers on the show?
Well, I mean, even just a little bit of what you're saying there too is, it's just, even if one person works all day and the other person doesn't work all day or has a different type of job, and you just don't, you have this image of what they're doing at work all day, and you're like, well, of course you should have had time to call my mother, because what do you do at work all day? And you don't have a sense of what the other person does do with their life, so you kind of make it up in your own head. So like Sam said, it really is based a lot of what maybe two humans would experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered you on that or not, sorry.
Yeah, no, that totally does make sense.
I mean, I think, you know, we talked a lot in the writer's room about just our lives and things we worry about, and kind of what's funny about that. And you know, you put a lot of ideas on the board, and you start looking for parallels, and it's amazing how the parallels start to come out in the story-breaking process. And one of the things we found is that a lot of times it would allow us ways to argue kind of two sides of the same coin. So, you know, there's I think it's episode 2 is called Boundaries, and obviously Nan's trying to set up boundaries with her boyfriend, and Martin's trying to destroy boundaries. And so, like, his lesson is there are some good boundaries, and her lesson is, you know, sometimes you need to live without boundaries. So it allows maybe a more nuanced exploration of a theme than just having kind of one lesson. So it's kind of allows more complexity.
Right. Well, yeah, and also not knowing what's going on. Like, Martin thinks that Nan is out having fun all day. She gets in the car, so he thinks she's just cruising. And then I think episode 3, she takes him into work.
Yeah.
And loyalty.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I know. So, but that kind of relates too. So then, even when he sees her in her workplace, it's like she's distressed the entire time, but he's like, all right, this isn't so bad. Like, what's the big deal? Why can't I come all the time? And
Yeah.
So is that too much of a spoiler alert? is that going to ruin things for people? I hope not.
I think people I think after seeing the first episode, I think it does feel good that he eventually does together. We've seen some commentary out there to that effect of like, hey, why doesn't she just bring them to work? Like, hey, stay tuned.
Yeah, because it feels like in today's culture, too, people take their dogs everywhere, and it doesn't even matter what size the dog is anymore. I feel like a lot of workplaces are open to letting, the dogs come and chill in that environment.
Yeah,
so.
You know what's funny, too, though? It's like Sam and I got to experience a lot of corporations being in the advertising business, so we got to parachute into a lot of worlds and see how they pretend like they think, and then sometimes actually how they think. And a lot of work culture that it gives you the appearance that it's wide open to everything, and then you get in there and it's really not. It's really more uptight than you think. even though everybody's in jeans and t-shirts, it's still really corporate and uptight.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a fun thing for us to see.
Is that what inspired Nan's workplace then? Because she's in advertising. Did that come from your experiences in advertising?
Yeah, as commercial directors, you kind of get to see the world without having to experience it. We go from client to client, which is nice because you're only working on one project, for a month at a time. But we got kind of windows into these worlds, and like Michael was saying, these very hip, cool environments where you get to have a really hip-looking office, but you make no money and you work long hours and your work's not appreciated and it's constantly being compromised. And so that's definitely a world that we knew and wanted to bring light to.
Yeah, because even that's super relatable with Nan. I mean, she has this great idea that you see in the pilot, but her boss, Kevin, just doesn't get it. And he's so superficial and strange. But I also like how we get to see more of his personality, too. And he comes off as like, just kind of like a tool. But you realize that there's more to him than that. And so...
I love Barry Rothbart. He is amazing. Our whole cast, I have to say, we're so lucky with, of course, starting at the top with Allison.
Mm-hmm.
But all the four main keys are just give such nuanced performances, and then look at Barry. He can be such a dick.
Yeah.
And I think people just will hate him at first, but as it goes on, he's so vulnerable, and he's so he's such like a man-child.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, too, you do kind of feel like he is sort of like Martin, too, the way he, has so many issues of his own that you can't, see right off the...
Very much a dog.
Yeah. And he just craves approval, but he also just doesn't get it either. Like, he just doesn't get what's going on in the real world, everything's over his head, which is hilarious. But
the funny thing is, with that said, again, speaking visually, and you mentioned Ned's eyes earlier on, too.
Yes.
I mean, look at Barry's eyes, look at Allison's eyes, look at Kirby's eyes. All of our actors, whether it was by plan or by accident, they all have very striking eyes.
They do.
On camera.
Yeah, and very emotive. They say a lot.
Yes.
Even is it Lucas who plays Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not there.
Yeah. So I know it's great. How did you guys then translate it from the web series to the show to come up with this great, group of characters and obviously, amazing actors who give them so much depth?
Slowly and painfully.
Yeah.
It was pretty painful. Well, I'll start with that.
Yeah.
We went, we bounced off a couple different walls to try to figure out how far we could stretch from what was like a very, a 4-foot by 4-foot cube that surrounded Martin's world, and how far could we extend from that when we added human interaction and drama that didn't include Martin, and we even thought how much time could we spend away from Martin, and all these different things. And the cool thing about it too for Samm and I was that the development process, we were already in relationship with Jimmy Miller and Tim Hansen at Mosaic, and we had them to balance a lot of things off in the development process, and with their experiences. So we bounced around for a while until we felt like the world started to fertilize itself.
Mm-hmm. So then you kind of organically just found the right balance between Martin and Nan's individual narratives just by playing around with ideas and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of just looking at you're always looking at characters who have desires that are conflicting, and I think in the pilot there's this they're kind of more in a direct conflict, and I think that works great for the pilot. But as it goes on further, I think we found more fun and kind of more nuance as the show goes on, frankly, as those two characters aren't in direct conflict. They're more just pursuing their own dreams, and have parallels, and they're kind of there for each other in the midst of that struggle. And I think as the show goes on, it becomes richer because of that.
Definitely, I can see that. At least, in the first 4 episodes, that was all that they put up there for me to be able to see. You can definitely see the progress that everyone's making. And do you feel like
we really hope people stick with it through, for the end, but at least through the first couple episodes, because you can see where we are. It does start to breathe a little bit, like Sam's describing, that you it just starts to go. We get more comfortable and confident about how far we can stretch it. And by the 8th episode, I think we really kind of show that this can go on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no template for when you're looking at making these kind of plots. And so I think in the pilot we found a plot that worked, and we were, for a pilot, pilots, of course, especially on network, have so much weight in them that they become just kind of like just completely worked. And it's not bad, but it feels like a pilot. And then to get more space, we started to be able to kind of figure out how the show actually functions and where its sweet spots are. And of course, we bring in John and Kat and hiring this amazing writing staff. And, one of the reasons that we did a short order, was part of the question being like, how many stories here are there? And when you walk away from the first season, we had a whole basket full of stories more we wanted to do. So we feel really confident about that and what we learned in that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, a lot of times, too, especially on today's television, I feel like quality is better than quantity because some people, just want more episodes and then they lose their way in bits and pieces here. But, if you have a great story and you know how to tell it and how many episodes you need to tell it, I much prefer that, which, you guys, for the first half of the season, definitely looks that way. So,
There's that old Volkswagen, think small, a campaign that for us, that's a lot of what we thought about the show. We focus on a relationship which isn't usually focused on, and usually it's thought of as too trivial to kind of take seriously. So inherently looking at the relationship between a dog and his owner is not the most like shocking high stakes thing. It's sweet and small and tender, and those are all words that we like for the show.
Yeah, but I still feel like, between the two of them, it would be high stakes because for Martin, Nan is his whole world. And I really love how that's shown, too. Yeah. Like, I love the puppy love flashbacks, of when we first met. It's like the whole soulmate montage, like a rom-com, but between a puppy and how they just kind of grow accustomed to each other. But it's like real-life love. It is, there's truth and depth to it and a relatability. So I feel like even if you don't have a dog, like project whatever you want onto Martin and you'll, be able to relate to it.
Well, I love that you called it a rom-com moment. I think you're the first one who's done that. So.
Oh, really? That was totally what I was thinking watching it. I loved it. I'm like, this is hilarious and awesome.
That's so encouraging. I mean, I think that you're totally right. The thing about Martin in this fan is he takes everything so seriously that, you could do an entire episode about the vacuum having moved from the basement to the closet. That move could be enough to disrupt his world, and that's something about his character.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he feels like he's dying so many times, and he is in, like, it took me back. It was like, oh my gosh, you are so full of existential angst. Like, chill out, dude. Like,
I think there's a little an Easter egg. If you count the number of episodes where he says, today was the worst day of my entire life.
Yeah.
He says that almost every episode.
He does. I feel like that's such a, millennial thing, too, though. It's like hashtag first world problems, He's like, oh my God, today was the worst,
Yeah, exactly.
So.
He's very prone to hyperbole.
Yeah, which makes it all the more fun. How did you guys, I know Ned, the star who plays Martin, is a rescue dog, but how did you guys find him? How do you, even audition a dog? Was there, a chemistry test with Allison to see how they got along?
Well, actually, the first person that Samm and I met with, the first people that for interview was the dog trainer, and having a history of working with animals, he knew we were looking for and method of training, et cetera, because training with support and love and adding confidence is best for everybody. It's best for the animal. It's best for the performance. Mm-hmm. And so when we found Nicole, we knew we had the right trainer, and then they proceed to look for animals across the country, actually at rescues, and we were casting originally with headshots. we would see headshots from different places, and we rescued several dogs and rehomed some of them once we chose Ned. But it was we really were looking for a dog that matched from the web series, and we weren't sold on Ned at first because he's too young and pretty. But boy, his eyes just kept winning back. I remember we'd just stare at the different dogs, and we just couldn't take our eyes off of Ned. And that turns out, I think, is really powerful for us in the end of just how soulful his eyes are.
They really are. Yeah, he just draws you in. And so what's the logistics like? Because I watched the B-roll footage, and it's like, you know, Allison's telling him to do something, but then you have the trainer off camera telling him to do the complete opposite. And I'm like, oh, poor Ned. Like, how are you not confused? But then it's like, I guess you just follow the one with the treats, you know? So what was it like directing a dog, and, you know, how crazy does it get on set? Were there any hilarious mishaps? Or do you have a favorite incident from filming?
It doesn't get that crazy. The thing is, first off, it's written and conceived in a manner that the dog doesn't have to do anything beyond what most dogs do that we see within our own eyes in our own home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's first off, that he's not doing great feats of strength or intelligence or anything. He's a dog.
Right.
That wipes out all that craziness right off the bat. So, and when you have a history of working with animals, and you have a trainer that's very good with animals, and you have an animal very prepared to be there, it's actually not stressful. You have to have patience. If they're not kind of hitting exactly what you want to do, you just patiently do it again. And with Ned, his focus is very specifically the trainers. I mean, he gets closer and closer with Allison for sure, because they're on set a lot together. But there is kind of a eye-to-eye protocol of he really trusts the trainers to help guide him through his day, and that's where he gets his confidence.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's sweet. Yeah. And just like the effects of it is mind-blowing. The first time I saw it, and I think I read somewhere too, is your studio the one behind the Taco Bell talking Chihuahua? The Yoko Taco Bell?
It's part of the history, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of
was born out of doing lots of talking animals, starting with the Chihuahua from Taco Bell.
Yeah, how is that done? Just like the logistics of it, because it's mesmerizing. It's so real and eerie. I do feel like, you know, his lips are actually moving. So, like, what goes into that?
Well, the cool thing for Samm and I as writers, we're both visual effects artists in history. He's a designer and heavier 3D visual effects artist than I am, but my history is from working with animals more throughout my career. It's just, here's the simple philosophy of it, and without going into the real technical beats of it, is get as much of the live animal's performance you want on set. First off, cast the right animal, but and develop the right storyline, so you put them in the correct positions that they look natural. But you get as much as the dog does naturally on set, so you're not asking too much of the animation in the end, anyways. And then the animation process that we use, we are not doing like CG replacement of the muzzle. We're using as much as Ned as possible on camera, and that's where you get the realism and subtlety from.
Okay. All right, yeah, because...
Was that technical enough? Sorry.
No, that's... Because it is, it's stunning. I mean, I was watching it, and I'm like, wow, this is just... I'm in awe of it. It's so cool. So I was just curious.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it looks...
There's some about Michael's approach to directing that's so unique, and I think a big part of why the show functions is he's, working with animals for so many years, and from how he is on set, from the dogs he wants to work with, to the camera angles he uses, to how he talks to the animals and frames it, to the talking animation, it all comes from this very, I think, authentic connection to the animal, and that really comes through in a way that you really can't fake. And so I think that's a lot of why the character works. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense, because it feels very personal and intimate. It's like because it's almost it's like the confessional I don't know, motif has taken on so many different forms, from like The Office and Modern Family, and then you've got like bachelorette crap that's, seems so cheesy the way they do it. But it's like with Martin, it feels so much more real and intimate, than some of the other things, because you feel like people are putting on a show for the other sorts of like confessional moments on, your TV series and stuff. But with Martin, it's like he's really pulling you in, and you almost feel like you're in like a therapist's office, and he's like, this is like, I'm in pain here, people, and then it's like by the end of the episode,
In the web series, there's references to the dog being in therapy, which we decided not to do in the show, but a lot of the tone is definitely drawn from a dog. It's as if the dog is speaking to his therapist as he's speaking to you as the audience. That's kind of a lot of the conceit.
Okay, yeah, because it does feel that way, and then he like works through his psychological problem of the episode, and by the end of it he comes off with like, I just love his lines. Just as I was watching it, I just have pages of like all the quotes. I'm like, the things that come out of his mouth, I'm like, oh my god, this is just too good. I mean, you could like you could have one of those like little coffee table books of what Martin says.
You have Tiffany, we do.
You do?
Well, yeah, we read a book of haiku poetry that Martin wrote.
And Sam and his brother just sat down and did all these haikus from Martin's perspective, and it's a wonderful little book.
Really? Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's almost like Confucius says, but it's like Martin says, kind of a thing. And then all these proverbs and things come out, and you're like, wow, you're one deep dog.
I mean, I think my favorite thing about Martin is that he thinks he's amazing, but he's actually just a regular dog. But then he'll get so narcissistic and so caught up in his own head and totally lose track of what matters. But then because he's a dog, you're able to have him realize some very profound things without making it cheesy because he's so flawed. And I think that's why he works as a character.
Mm-hmm. He also has, like, for a narcissist, he also has insecurities because, which you see the most, I think, in the 4th episode. So, not too spoilery, but he sees a stud dog, Hunter, who's just so on point and can do every trick and knows how to take commands and stuff, and
that's not at all based on me in middle school whatsoever.
Well, no, because that's also relatable. It's like, here's this supermodel dog who can do, like a Olympic athlete of dogs, kind of, and Martin's like, yeah, whatever, I'm cool still, in my own way, It's like, screw that dog, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he wants to be everything to everyone that he can be, and so he comes back and just knowing his place, but also real. And the thing that we've already talked about is like, he really is. We love him being. He's not even a smart dog. He can't even figure out things that the other dogs can figure out. But like, that's not what matters. Like, he has a unique experience of the world that does matter, even though he's not smart or cool or a pure breed or like a fashion dog,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, even with Nan, too, like, he thinks he has control over her in the Boundaries episode. It's like, suddenly he thinks he's like a god among dogs and men until, his nemesis, the cat, comes in and Nan just picks up the cat. And he's like, oh my god, I've been wrong. She's the one, it's like, she can smite demons.
Well, it's just fun because you do get to get into religion and politics and all those without being on the nose about it.
Yeah, you can. 'Cause you can read a lot of things into these episodes. I mean, if you want to take it just as like a fun show, you can. But I mean, a lot of the reviews I've been seeing online too, people are laughing and crying because it just tugs on your heartstrings,
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, we definitely want it to work as a fun just show, but when you sense that there's more there, we definitely put a lot of thought into it, and it all comes from a very real, raw place in our lives.
Yeah. Is that what you're...
Okay, sorry.
So, no, go ahead.
No, I was just like one of the discussions we had before and during, and once we got to Cat and John too, when we were looking for writers, we were really specific about people that weren't just pure comedy. We wanted to make sure people had the ability to think in terms of an emotional story, and we had such a great team of people that felt comfortable balancing that, and that even goes towards, and I love to talk about how, Allison is also a factor in that too, that she's been able to handle the balance of comedy and drama, and having not just, cut her teeth in the comedy world or just the drama world. She was able to balance both. So every aspect of it kind of is sitting in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Allison's great too. I also love how, how relatable she is too. Like, she's a very down-to-earth, Nan is a very down-to-earth character, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with Allison too, because it's like, you're like, yeah, I totally feel that, It's like you can see yourself in her shoes in a lot of ways,
And when it came to hiring a writing staff, all the writers above the staff writer level were women, and that was really important to us, because, me and Michael, two guys, writing women, and of course Kat's woman, and, she was part of the team, but, it was amazing how her character really just had so much growth through this process of the writers with all these very talented women. And the guys are great too, but we were very intentional about that choice.
Well, that's great. That's really good to know. Yeah, I think it does. It does show, but I didn't even know that. Because
that's great.
Yeah.
I went to a Women in Film event when I was in LA last, and I was shocking to hear some of the numbers, and we weren't playing for the numbers. We like Sam says, no, but we really need input and people with a different perspective and from all backgrounds, and that's what we went for. We had a really great female-centric writing room.
That's great. Yeah, well, the ensemble too. It's a diverse group of people too. Like, all their personalities and the characters' interactions and where they're at in their lives. It's different, but they all like you see Nan and Jen, her co-worker / friend, griping about work and their boss and stuff, but then they also, show each other different sides of Kevin that they didn't know about, which it's interesting. I just like the way everything is woven together and how you see all of this. And then that's probably when Martin seems the most like Doggish. He's just sitting there and he's like, I'm bored. But, it's like, people are talking here. Important things are going down. And poor Jason too. I feel bad. Like, I feel like he just became like Martin's playmate, now that he and Nan are trying to be just friends. He's like the doggy sitter. But Martin's like, yeah, he's a cool dude. I can pass my time with him if Nan's not here and I'm bored. Whatever.
You will have to keep watching things happen.
Yay. Ooh. So what are you hoping viewers will take away from Downward Dog? Because I know you guys have been working really hard, and you've made a very great, complex, moving show.
I guess a lot of it is about kind of also how they come to it. We're making a show that for us, is between a comedy and a drama, even though it's half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of it is people being willing to kind of slow down the pace and kind of take in some of the more nuanced pieces. A lot of the show for us was about these two characters who really struggle to love themselves. I mean, Martin pretends he loves himself a lot, but deep down, like you said, he's very insecure, and he's not sure if he matters. And Nan's at a point in her life that she's not sure what it means to be a good person and what path she should take. And she gets very neurotic and kind of obsessed about making the right choices. And I'm hoping that people, especially in this really kind of scary, confusing time in our country, have a moment of just kind of calm and laugh a little bit, and then get to reflect on themselves and say, hey, you know what? I'm doing the best I can, and I like myself. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That sounds great. and it shows. I mean, at least it's like you can feel it, through the first 4 episodes. I can really feel that, and you can see that, and
great.
You're on this journey with them, but it does make you then, look at parts of yourself in your own life too. So you become introspective by watching these introspective people on TV.
Okay. That's great. That's great.
And that might be a sidebar too of just the effect that the respect that I think Sam and I've always had respect for animals, but to really live in this world the way we are, it's going to be a fresh perspective on a relationship that is a really important relationship in people's lives. I mean, I know we're dramatizing it in a much exaggerated way, but the essence of that quote love affair, it's actually kind of real in so many ways of it, and I think people already feel that as the show's coming out. I've been reading some things from people, and hopefully if how many times has somebody lost a pet, and it really means so much to them, and so it's a real relationship.
Oh, it really is. I mean, we only had one dog, and the funny thing is I'm allergic to dogs, so we had a little Maltese, and he was my sister's, but we all lived together as a family, and we just lost him a year ago, and he was an alpha, our one and only, and he didn't really play well with others, so it's not like we could even get like another one. So we just feel his loss, like we're heartbroken, and he was like, they do become part of the family. So watching this, I cried hard so many times, and it's like you do, because you miss it, because it is part of your family, and that relationship is real. It does seem dramatized, but I feel like if you've never had that connection with an animal or a pet, then maybe it does seem like it's dramatized. But I mean, it's like a soul and a personality is still a soul and a personality, whatever package it comes in. So the bond is formed. Yeah. So I feel it, and I understand it, and I'm like, yeah, man, they are soulmates, So.
And dogs who are most intimate moments, or the most vulnerable, whether it's happy or sad, they see the truth, and then they're there in those moments. And so I think that's a good part of why it's so special.
Yeah, and I love how the pilot too sends that message of unconditional love. Like Nan's whole campaign is like, I can be at my worst, and my dog will look at me and still loves me, and no matter what. So I think that's also a very beautiful, important message to send out into the world too, with so much negativity.
It's real easy, right, Sam? It was like the night before because we got an opportunity to reshoot a couple scenes, and Dan was working on that particular moment, and he came up with that brainstorm of that speech, and it really did work, and it really did pull everything together. I think it was probably laying out there, but at that final moment before the final day that we got to shoot, it got solidified. So yes, I'm glad you said that and noticed that.
Yeah, no, I love that. That was one of my favorite moments. That was definitely a highlight. So I'm just very happy for you guys, and I'm excited to see.
Well, thanks so much, and it means so much to talk to you, and it's amazing how much you've engaged and know all the show. It's for us, we've known it for so long. It's really exciting to talk to a person that's watched it with such care. So I appreciate that a lot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time to chat with me. And
of course.
I don't know, hopefully, maybe we can even chat around the finale time too, and see.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. And
that would be great.
Yeah. Once I know where everything.
People can be rewarded if they sit through it.
Yes, definitely. So I'm very excited to see what comes up ahead for Martin and Nan and everybody else. And I'm going to keep championing your show on Twitter and stuff.
Thank you so much.
Keep going. We need all the help we can get. We appreciate it.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's my pleasure. So fingers crossed, and I'm excited to see it, premiere this Wednesday. And then it's moving to Tuesday nights on the 23rd. So.
Yeah. Yep. Tuesday nights 8.
Yep. So, and then it'll be sticking there the rest of the season, and it's just one episode airing at a time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
One at a time.
Okay, awesome.